Welcome to the Success Sensei podcast for anyone interested in success, happiness, and balance. We'll teach you how to be a black belt at life. And now, your host, former professional fighter, multiple world champion, entrepreneur, and investor, Robert Devane.
Bowing in. This is Robert Devane, the Success Sensei, helping you to win at life, one kick and punch at a time. Episode 345, as well as not instead of.
It's the Success Sensei podcast main event.
As well as not instead of. Yes, apologies for the sound quality. Whether I needed to say it or not, I am recording remotely. And sometimes when you're recording remotely, guerrilla style, guerrilla warfare style, low budget, bootstrapping it, in other words. So sometimes the sound quality, well, not sometimes, the sound quality isn't as good as if I was in a proper sound recording studio. But sure, however, look, the message is still going to be the same. You're going to understand this one, and it is as well as not instead of. So, as well as not instead of. This came to me when I was thinking about people's exercise programs, people's lives in general, and how they go about things, and thinking about, specifically, I suppose, exercise programs, but everything, finance, life, learning, the pursuit of success. And you've got to go with the as well as, not the instead of philosophy, right? Let's get down to it. What the hell do we mean? What am I talking about? So if you plan on doing a fitness routine, if you plan on doing, we'll say 10,000 steps a day, that's a fairly standard thing to set out to achieve. You want to be fitter, you want to be stronger. One of the easiest things to do is 10,000 steps a day, a minimum of 10,000 steps a day. That is as well as everything else, not instead of. So let's just stop you there before we move on with any more of this podcast. Massive results require massive action. If you're looking to make fundamental changes in your life, if you're looking to lose weight, if you're trying to maximize your weight loss in the minimum time period possible, not even maximum and minimum, even if you're trying to guarantee that you're actually going to lose the weight, the target weight that you're hoping to lose, then you have to adopt the as well as, not the instead of. You're not doing 10,000 steps a day instead of other things. You need to add that to all the other training plans that you have, all the other sports or all the other exercising or stretching programs, or even the few minutes here and there, whatever you're trying to squeeze in. Everything is as well as, not instead of. In other words, you have to do a hell of a lot more to see results. Now, I know specifically I was talking about fitness there, but it goes for every area. If you want to achieve larger results, if you're going to be comparing to others, of which you shouldn't really be doing, but if you're looking at other people's results, if you're thinking, I want to be a lot further, if you only want to be marginally further than you are now, then yeah, absolutely set marginal goals. But I've never met anybody that only wanted to be, marginally better, 1% better, or even 10% better. I don't know. I've never met or talked to anybody that was setting a goal that didn't want a minimum of 100% improvement in their life. There's no one I know that's making a certain amount of money that doesn't want to double it. There's nobody then that doesn't want to double that figure again. So 10x is a popular thing to be promoting now. Isn't there books saying 10x is easier than 1x or 2x or whatever it is? So we're talking about, massive action. We're talking about if you've got large goals, you're going to have to undertake large tasks. There has to be an output. And as well as you do have to maximize your time, you do have to squeeze a lot in. Many years ago, I used to, as part of my budgeting and savings program and savings with a view to investing, or savings with a view for Christmas or holidays, I used to never spend coins. And always I was shocked at how much money. So I used to spend notes only and save every coin that passed through my hands. Then a lot of money, could be saved. You'd actually be shocked at the amount of coins that pass through your hands if you're saving them. I was always delighted with myself, even though coins, very easy to think that coins are insignificant. I still do that, by the way. Sometimes coins get raided. I've got kids and I've got a wife who likes to raid my coins for coffee on a daily basis, but it still adds up, and it still adds up to a few €100, which can be put towards something, and genuinely I don't miss it. Now, the as well as plan. I read a couple of years ago about the person who was saving €5 notes. So they weren't saving coins, they were saving €5 notes. And with inflation, the saving the coins, it's still good, it still works, but obviously coins aren't the same value as they used to be when I started doing the program. So I thought, they'll save the €5 instead of spending. So basically, every €5 that comes into your hand, you don't spend it, you just keep it. I mean, give or take. Sometimes you get to the till and something is €25 and you've got €25. Yes, I know I've just aged myself there because I'm not using my phone to pay, but however, I don't spend €5 anymore. So I did think, oh God, that'll be a bit harder because €5 are kind of handy. A lot of things are €5. Coffee, you'll get change out of €5. It's handy to use the €5. But I don't do that anymore. I save the €5. So obviously, I stopped also then trying to save the coins, didn't I? Wrong. No. As well as. Not instead of. So I do the coins and I do the €5. And honestly, it's a hell of a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So yeah, it just means I'm breaking €10 and then I'm saving the coins and then I'm saving the €5. It does prevent me from wasting or from following through on unnecessary purchases as well sometimes, because I know a cup of coffee is going to cost me €10, maybe €20, and then whatever's given back to me I'm going to have to save. So stuff is a little bit more expensive. on a par with some expensive cities and some expensive countries I've lived in, by the way. So that's the way I do it. As well as, I'm delighted I do it that way. It's a hell of a lot easier than I thought, and it builds up a hell of a lot quicker. So when you're adding, new lifestyle changes, when you're making your plans, more is necessary. We do underestimate the amount that we can do over a long period of time, and we overestimate the amount of things that we can achieve or do over a short period of time. So absolutely, when you're setting out your goals, and hopefully they're not just short goals, they're longer goals, more. Less is not more is more. So as well as, what can you do as well as the positive things that you're doing? If you're doing negative things or things that aren't working for you, get rid of them. But there's no point in substituting one positive action step that you take on a regular basis for another one. You need to try to do the two of them. And if there's a third one, chuck that in as well. I mean, how much do you want to succeed? How much do you want to guarantee your success? How much do you want to win? How much and how much of a margin do you want to win by, and how soon do you want to win? So speaking of as well as, and speaking of, you know, how soon do you want to win? How large do you want to win? The FIRE community. I'm sure you've heard of FIRE, Financial Independence, Retire Early, or whatever other abbreviations of that. So financial independence. So basically trying to come up with a plan to enable you to retire earlier, financially free or financially independently than the age of whatever the retirement age is. I think is it 67 at the moment? Has it been increased from 65 to 67? Perhaps it is. But a lot of the time is, you know, how do you get yourself to a stage where you can retire at 60? But then if you use the as well as, you know, what happens if you're able to do it sooner? Now, I'm not saying sacrifice your life. I'm not saying absolutely cripple yourself with the as well as instead of. I'm not saying to the point where it's complete fatigue and complete burnout. But you know what? Burnout, fatigue and tiredness are a hell of a lot harder to get to than you'd realise. You're capable of so much more than you give yourself credit for. You're stronger than you realise, and you have all the answers. More than likely, you do have all the answers to all your problems and to all your future success than you actually give yourself credit for. So, you know, have faith in your ability to add as many things possible to ensure your success. Stop telling yourself about burnout. Stop telling yourself about brownout, the new one. Stop telling yourself about, you know, tiredness. A lot of the time, it's not real. Look, of course, some tiredness is real, some burnout is real, but it's probably not as prevalent as you keep telling yourself. And the story that I often have used on the podcast is, you could imagine somebody arriving home from work. They haven't had a day off in weeks. They have a very tough, demanding job. They physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually are burnt out. They absolutely collapse on the sofa as soon as they get home. The inability to do anything, completely down. They're too tired to have a shower. They're too tired to get food. Absolutely. We've all been there, by the way. We've all had this feeling. But this is the point. The television is on and their winning lottery numbers are announced. What do you think that person who's completely thought they didn't have an ounce of energy left, what do you think they'd be doing? Well, I'll tell you exactly what they'd be doing, especially if it was, you know, a USA lottery, a couple of 100 million. I guarantee you they'd be hopping out of that. I guarantee you they wouldn't even bother going to sleep or resting for the next week. They would just stay awake, running around trying to figure out what they were going to do with the excitement and the energy. Well, where did that energy come from? People think that they're tired when they're not tired. People, you know, think they're burnt out when they're not burnt out. Sometimes you just need to pivot, I suppose is the cheesy business term. You just need to change your perspective. You just need to change your track. You just need to look at things a little bit differently. You can absolutely take passive rest. You can keep going while you're catching your breath. You can just deviate a little bit and have a couple of seconds while you're moving to something else. But you want to maximize your time. You know, who knows how long we're going to be here for. So we don't want to be regretting not trying. We don't want to be regretting not giving everything our best shot. The only way to do that is to pack your life. Pack in as many lives into the one life that you can. And obviously, you don't necessarily have to push yourself through excruciating hardship that you can't stand. We're talking about adding, you know, necessary things that you can like in order, or become to like, or grow to like, and get better at on the way, as well as everything else that you're doing to ensure your success. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. All the years that have led up to where you are now in life are an indicator of your future success. So there's a really harsh lesson in that. If you're, whatever age, 30, we'll go for 30. If you're 30 years of age and you're looking at the next year or two and you're thinking that the next year or two are going to be completely different from the previous 30 years, well, those previous 30 years are an absolute indication of your years to come, unless you start adding as well as to the parts of your life that are successful and are right and that are good habits. So you can always, that's another thing as I'm recording this, I can hear you say, but don't have the time, time management. And sure you do. It just might require going to bed a little bit later. It might require using your time in the evenings. It might require getting up earlier in the mornings. It might require not as long lunch breaks. It might require not giving your time away to others unnecessarily or to mindless entertainment. There are definitely hours that can be saved per day and ultimately weekly, which will greatly add up. And if that time was used as well as everything else that you were doing, if that time was used productively, then does that not further ensure your success? So remember, the biggest regrets on your deathbed, the biggest regrets that you're going to have are not the regrets of things that you've done. Hopefully, the majority of cases, it's not the regret of doing things or doing certain things or making mistakes. The larger regret, the majority of times, and frequently nearly everybody says it, is the regret of not doing things, not doing certain things, not going at something aggressively enough, not having the confidence to chase your goals. So hopefully that's helped you. What can you add as well as, and not instead of, to improve your relationships, your finances, your job and your career, your health and your fitness, your mental well-being, your intellect, as well as have a think about it. You can do a lot more than you're giving yourself credit for. Hopefully that's helped you. Hopefully it's given you a bit of motivation, a bit of confidence. Message me anytime. Thank you for listening. I'm Robert Devane, the Success Sensei. Life is a fight you can enjoy and win. Bowing out.
This has been the Success Sensei, fighting the winning fight. So add us, subscribe, like, and comment. Keep those hands up and keep moving forward.